HCI-space, a podcast where we explore the world of human-computer interactions through conversation with people designing the future of how we live, learn, and connect with technology. I'm your host, Aditya, and I'm joined today by Diego Gomez Zara, who is a professor at University of Notre Dame. Hi, Dr. Diego, how are you doing today?
Hi, Aditya. I'm okay. Thank you for inviting me.
Sure, sure. Okay, so I started out this podcast by asking my professor or the professors that join me on call these two questions always. Starting off with, how did you actually get into HCI, and was there like a specific moment or project that really pulled you in?
I remember when I was in college, I was just finishing my degree in engineering, and I couldn't um, work on projects that they were just maths or like physics. So I was very like overwhelmed because of like the lack of human connection. So I remember that I had that thought like I really want to work on engineering projects, but trying to connect more like what humans do, what people feel like, what people can do with technologies. So um, I'm from Chile, so HCI was not a big field in that country, and I started like exploring more, and they have other topics that they were kind of adjacent to HCI, such as hypermedia, like graphics, software design, UX. So, like those topics were very interesting to me because we had to ask a lot of questions about how technology could be used, as well as like how people can take the advantage of using these technologies. So that brought me to projects like they were requiring evaluation from the user perspective and also design centering the human on the project. So I remember when I was doing my master's degree, I had to create an application that was kind of a mind map, but the idea was trying to create a multimodal mind map so like people could add videos, photos, audio, text. So basic on those days, just like NLP techniques, I was trying to extract information from a student's essay and then create a mind map so like the students could visualize their ideas and their structure in other ways. So that was my master's degree, and that kind of pushed me to explore more topics, and I ended up just doing a PhD in human computer interaction.
Yeah, it's a really interesting story, and thank you for sharing that. But coming up to our next question, a lot of people might not even know what HCI even is. So,
Mhm.
do you think you could explain it in a way that would make sense to like a high schooler?
Yeah. So um, what I always think about is like people use technology every single day. We use phones, we use computers, tablets, and other machines. The machines are coded based on compilers, like different components. So, how actually can people use these technologies? So, the role of human computer interaction is to design the interfaces or the ways that people can interact with these technologies. So, right now, even like they seem very transparent or natural to us, all these applications, technologies require a lot of work to make them usable. So I always tell to my students in college, like many of them know Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all these applications. So how they actually interact or understand how to get to the content. So how they can find their friends posts or they can see a comment or how they can like a comment or a post. So all these are interactions that they're doing or like between what the users are doing and what this information while it resides on servers in different parts of the world. So in the end, human computer interaction role is just to connect what the machines can do with how and also how enable users and people to use them. um, so that's why it's so important these days.
I see. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think it's a very informative and insightful way of describing HCI. I totally agree with that. But now, I wanted to kind of shift gears into something that's been like kind of a big focus in your work regarding collaboration. And so, coming to the first question, so what makes learning to collaborate fundamentally different from simply just being given collaborative
I
tools?
think the main point there is that how do you actually design a tool that enables people to interact with each other and to build on each other's ideas, perspectives. So rather than just having a collaboration tool that maybe could be used for multiple purposes, but then collaboration on this context, or like in terms of learning, it means that people can learn from others' ideas, perspectives, actions. So people can, they really need to see what others are doing and interact with others, and in that way they can gain something new. So I think it's a very important question, in that what kind of like determines the success of a collaborative environment versus just like a mere collaboration tool that maybe is not designed for the appropriate users or for the appropriate context or environment.
Right. Yeah. So basically, like, collaboration fundamentally, it's like collaborating with each other helps give like that HCI connection between like human computer interaction, rather than just like giving collaborative tools and just working on it like statically without actually connecting with like your peers.
Right.
And yeah, so basically, would you say it's better to collaborate fundamentally?
Yeah, I think in that sense, if the technology enables that collaboration, and for example, some applications are very effective enabling people to, let's say, communicate in real time, whether while they're in different places. Where, in some cases, technologies are have issues like latency, lack of usability. So actually, they end up to be just terrible on people. Actually, their work or their collaboration is not so effective because there's some friction. The responses are slow. So that's why, at least in the role of the HCI, is how to create a technology or like a platform that enables different users to work together at the same time, and just like trying to augment their work rather than just like creating barriers.
Right. Absolutely. For my next question, I was wondering, generative AI is currently being pitched as like a collaborator, a coach, or even a manager. And in your mind, what would it take for AI to ethically and effectively like take that responsibility, or to like support the development of real collaboration skills? Should we even designate AI to pertain to such roles?
That's a good question. I believe that it's we are not there yet to say that AI is a collaborator, because in the end, AI is trained by companies or by the specific people. Like AI right now, if we think in terms about the agentic AI, it's just trained with some data, a specific context by specific groups or companies. So we can emulate collaboration in that sense, like the AI is able to generate content, can find content, can provide generate language. But in the end, it's just like a responsive attitude to what humans are doing. So, what I'm interested to know, at least, how you or how designers and practitioners can create AI that could emulate human behavior in a more realistic way. Like, for example, can contest. It can trying to help users to think like more, or like challenge their thoughts. So things like in fact happen and are fundamental for group dynamics. So I think right now the role of assistant is the most effective way, or the effective role that it has been envisioned, because it responds to the sequence like question and answer. But as a collaborator, like the idea here is like you have different people like building on each other's ideas, thoughts, and from there, like collaboration can create something new that is different from what users can do alone. So, ¿qué pasa? Oye, can I see you in a few minutes? Let me finish the phone call, then I will see you. Okay. All right. Okay. So that's the reality for right now. Anyway, only if
Yeah.
that answers the question. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, just building upon that. So basically, you think that right now, as it is, like AI is just like a responsive kind of like robotic thing, rather than like something that emulates human emotion, so it can't genuinely give you like a good response, or it can't be like a helpful dynamic to like mentor you.
Right. Because I mean, right now, um, it's based on a prompt structure, right? Like we prompt, at least the current technologies are based on prompting. So like, I want to act like make the AI agent work in a specific way. And that's like, for example, right now we're seeing more of these studies like the AI can take or emulate certain personalities. Like it can be active, passive, it can take some different tones. So in that sense, everything is designed and created in a specific way. But then like the how natural that collaboration could happen or how can change over time, that's something that is still needs some work and studies. So I think it will be interesting to know, for example, even like using considering chatbots or like conversational agents, how actually can adapt better to the dynamics of the group, as well as trying to generate like what it will be a more human um, connection between different users rather than just like this responsive structure that they have been built on. Mhm.
Right, absolutely. So yeah, I was looking at more of your research, and I came across this one that delved into like HCI regarding emojis,
Oh
and
yeah. Mhm.
yeah, and I was curious, like, could you tell us more about how something as simple as emojis are being involved with the field of HCI?
That's a good question. So yeah, so that's a project that one of my PhD students was working on, Charlie Chang, and he was interested in this idea, like the evolution of the emojis. So when we were running this project, one interesting fact was that emoji at the beginning was very specific. Like the purpose was just like trying to create these emotions or faces using like Unicode structure, so like people could just add those faces and text messages and so on. But right now has diverged so much in terms of the materiality. So like it's not just a way just people can send emotions on text messages. Right now people are using the emojis, for example, to um, react to content on the web. So like on Facebook, like you like a picture or like you can hate it or you can cry or can you love it. So all these kind of things are kind of um, uh, visible across all the platforms. So in that sense, the use of emojis has been diverging, and also at the same time, how people create emojis or like evoke the emoji, it has been changing depending on the nature of the interaction with the user. So, for example, he saw one paper in which, based on like the heart rate and the some body signals, they could just trying to interpret and connect those with an emoji, so it's trying to kind of predict what the user was feeling. There was another one that they were using like understanding the specific semantic or like implicit meanings of emojis, because maybe there's one specific emoji that means different things for different people. Like a face could be different depending if it's your partner, if it's your like father, mother, or like and so on. So in that sense, it's interesting. Like something very um, simple, which was like creating these faces, has been changing. First of all, like how people communicate these days. Um, I think in one of his papers, like he kind of highlighted that more than 70% of the users in the United States use emojis, and they use it daily just to evoke emotions, because it's much faster to use an emoji rather than just typing. So it's interesting in that sense how HCI is transforming like the ways that people communicate with each other, as well as like they build relationships.
Right. Yeah, that's really interesting. But yeah, I mean, just going more into that, has there been like specific instances where like using all the tools given like the heart rate and all the information, like potentially misread the actual user's emotions?
That's a good question. I'm not, I mean, trying to think if he saw something like that, because definitely it happens that, and especially that happens with text communication, is that it's hard to interpret because of the lack of body language. So in that sense, when we have this video conversation or like we're in person, even I say something, the tone of my voice, just like my body, my eyes, all those things, like can just trying to direct the message in different ways. So that's missing in text communication, and that's also another problem with it, especially with emojis, like what it means, how we interpret these things, and also how people maybe misunderstand things because of the lack of context.
Right. Yeah. Actually, I've been noticing like ChatGPT, whenever I ask for like a specific answer prompt, it'll always like return text with emojis. And I
Mhm.
think like as the time goes on, that's like how OpenAI is, I guess, trying to like emulate more human behavior. But
Right.
yeah, I can totally see why emojis are kind of like important because even for like AI generators, like they use emojis to convey like a sense of human emotion. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's really interesting research. Yeah, just like coming more to like some general questions is that with the rise of AI, there's obviously some like ethical implications of like where the data is coming from, and
Yeah.
so what do you think are some ways we can build trust with people and technologies, especially with the rise of AI?
Yeah, I think it's an important question, especially because that's the main factor for adoption. So if people trust the AI, then it will they will use it later, like they will adopt the technology. And that's true in different fields. It says like AI bots, especially like if the AI bot it seems reliable, competent, all of that, they will trust it more. So um, build ways that they can build, it's one thing is just like adaptability, like how adaptable can be this AI to the specific user and understand the different nuances, because people will have different needs, ways to communicate, perspectives. So in that sense, um, if the AI is designed just for one specific group or like kind of user, it's going to fail and like it's not going to be highly adapted for many. And I think that's kind of like the one of the properties that LMs can have, just like they can adapt quickly to what the users are prompting. And the main issue right now is just like they need more context in order to kind of narrow down the message in a better way. Competency, so like the if they're trained in a matter like the errors are just minimal or like they can recover quickly from making a mistake. That also helps to the AI just to seem more trustworthy. And lastly, I think, and also another area, research areas like explainability. There's a lot of evidence that when AI provides a reason and like the rationale of their decisions, that's when people can have more confidence of the responses. And there could be very different cues that could be from badges, adding sources, explaining the rationale of the decision, and those elements explain as well as just like giving options just to ask or clarifications. So um, there are different techniques, and that's what I'm referring to, like trying to enable more, like replicate more, like what have happened in a real human conversation. So, if I don't understand what someone said, I will ask for more information. Like, can you clarify? Could you say that again? That's something like AI doesn't do naturally. Like, they will just, based on the prompt, will output like their answer that they think is correct. And that's when you need as a user trying to say, no, you're wrong. Like, this is not correct. So those are, I think, three aspects that needs to be part of like the foundations of building trust, just to with between and humans and AI.
All right, yeah, I totally agree. And just like I guess it's a very subjective question, but
Mhm.
like how much do you think we should rely on AI?
I think there are parts that are, when there's automatizing tasks, I think that's something that AI it's very good at, and I think that has been how nature. I mean, like the evolution of humanity has been going in that direction. So, for example, right now, calculators, like even they have been created like more than 50 years ago, but like people don't argue, and they will prefer to use a calculator right than using someone's brain. So because the likelihood of an error is just very low in a calculator. So in that sense, a lot of like the automation tasks are very good for AI, even for very rudimentary tasks like can you write a draft for me, or can you create an email, can you create an image with these properties and so on. I was very impressed, for example, when and this LLMs started like creating images with that kind of resolution. Things that maybe you cannot do it because you're not an artist, you're not someone who can do or spend so many hours doing that kind of work. So right now, it's much easier for most people to do these things. Um, so I feel like a lot of things will go in that direction, and I think what we're seeing right now is like right, like AI is just facilitating the work that things that took for example, software coding, like parts of the code that maybe they are based on some other parts of the code that like someone has done it this before. So maybe AI is just much better at that, like trying to capture or like bring back parts of code that has been created before. So I hope that could be something that it will stay, and we'll see what comes next.
Right, yeah, I agree with that. I think it should just be at the point where like people just like use it as an automation tool, like a calculator, but not overtly rely on it because they could
Yeah.
just instead of like because the issue I think currently especially in my school is that a lot of people overly rely on doing or on making AI do their homework, so they
Right.
don't actually learn anything in the class, and then like when it's time for AP exams or final exams they don't really, they have to kind of learn it all again, but they're
Right.
not able to effectively do so.
Yeah. In that sense, it's very important, like even I use LLMs to improve my writing, but in the sense, it's like it should be more a conversation. So, like, I write an idea, or like I write a paragraph. Can you tell me what it could be better? And then I learn a lot by doing that. But it's still like I keep my like control. I keep the agency. It's just like I'm the person who is doing this. So that's what I feel like we can see as more a partner, like this kind of person who can give you idea support and so on, rather than automatizing, for example, idea generation, or as you said, like learning, which is something very important. I was remembering right now there is this because this concept of it's just like aggregating knowledge. And years ago there was this scientist called Vannevar Bush, who was one of the main research scientists leading the policy making in the United States in the 1940s. So he created this like this concept of this machine called Memex or Memex. I don't know how to pronounce it, but basically the machine, it was like what we understand right now as the web. Like it was basically a machine, like all the document was in this machine, and based on some indexing system, people can go here and search for content. And let's imagine like in those days, all the content was in books, just like papers. So people need to go through like glossaries or just like table of contents in order to find the information. So it was very tedious. So he was always imagining like how the like information could be connected, and so people can find easily the information. So then the web came up, and then in the 1990s, and then like Tim Berners-Lee created the web, and that kind of created something new. Like, oh, now we can have these documents connected online. The links are just creating these hyper connections. So right now it seems like large language models could be this kind of third wave, in which right now all the content right now it's embedded in this models, but then people can have a more conversational way to interact with information. So yeah, what is the answer for this? Can you tell me this? And that information goes very smoothly, right? Like the LM can do a very good job just trying to find information, and of course generating things. So that's what I'm trying to see, like the ambitions, like how the LMs in the end can be a very good tool for us, just like to augment our cognition, as well as like to things that probably takes so many hours, now we can just do it in a few minutes. But I agree with you. How we can combine this in the learning process so people don't lose that. I think that's why many educators are struggling right now.
Right, yeah, yeah, especially, yeah, I think the aspect of it being a third wheel after like the web and like organizing information is like a really accurate way to put it. But yeah, like in the future, what part of the HCI excites you most and what worries you most?
I'm excited about these kind of relationships between humans and AI agents, because right now this kind of what we it was done decades ago, the Turing test. So like people like in front of a machine and they need to know if it's actually a machine or is a person. So right now it's very interesting because it's very hard right now to notice if it's a human or a machine. But then the question is like, okay, what comes with that? So like maybe we can we use AI to kind of complement certain needs that groups, teams, or like organizations need. So for example, you need certain kind of expertise or like a member of your team. So is that something that actually an AI agent can do? um, as well as like how we can augment our intelligence. Right now, I feel like uh, for example, I'm a Spanish native speaker, and then like all these technologies are helping me so much just to learn how to write, how to speak, how to realize of what I'm making, like what are my mistakes and so on. So I hope in that sense AI could be another layer between our relationships that can help us to understand, like converge, and also just to make connections among different individuals. So that's what excites me, and that's why we are building these kind of systems. um, what it worries me, I'm worried that right now, these are tools, and they could be in the wrong hands. I think the other day there was a video of it was a viral video. Basically, there was a passenger discussing with one of the uh, um, workers in the airline, and it supposedly was like they didn't want to allow a kangaroo enter to the flight. And the video shows like the kangaroo with the chicken, like holding the chicken. And of course, it was a fake video, but because of the how realistic the videos are right now, this could be used for so many other things. Like, it could be for misinformation, for for manipulating, like the reality. So I'm just kind of worried about something that, for example, it took a long time just to create. Right now anyone could do it. So that's something that we will need to go back and discuss, like how we can prevent or how we can increase the validity of the content, or the information that we're seeing around us.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree because basically, yeah, in terms of the future, I think HCI could be especially important in terms of like helping us learn more efficiently, and just be more accessible to learning in general. But in terms
Mhm.
of the worries, I think I totally agree with you, in terms of there being misinformation because someone made a video that looks like someone, but it's not completely true. Actually, have you seen Google VO3's like capability of making new videos?
Yeah, it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like wow. And the other thing that worries me, and I think, but it's part of like how technology is going to the workforce. It's like how many jobs are going to be missed. Like the right now we are seeing this, especially in computer science. Like software engineers are not so necessary as before because a lot of the content right now is just written by AI. And same with other kinds of jobs, like they seem very safe, but because of this automatization, right? Like we are seeing like writers, journalists, like even actors, right? Because of the videos, directors, so on. So like it will be interesting to see how AI will just reconfigure the workforce, and that's something that we still don't know yet. But probably that's something that will be discussed for a long, probably for many years, right?
Yeah, especially because it's already like an oversaturated field by a lot of means,
Yeah,
and with the rise of AI, it's just a lot of like automated tasks that people are hired for are being laid off because AI can do their job.
right.
Yeah, but yeah, on to our final question. This is general. If you could give one piece of advice to young people interested in technology that impacts human broadly, what would it be?
Good question. So I think. Um, One thing will be think about, like I will say, think about what is the problem that we are seeing right now in front of our eyes. Just like what are some of the dynamics that are not being answered yet? And there are so many things in our society. For example, caregivers, like people who are giving, like being around elderly people or people who are sick. And there are still like so many issues in our society in which AI is not being involved. So I think the question there is like how technology can actually be, a tool, or could be another layer that can help people to do their work better, or just like their like improve their relationships. So um, right now, with a lot of advancement with software hardware, I think we're just moving to our direction, but it's still like a lot of questions in our society that have been unanswered. Poverty, and so like in that sense, what technology could do for us. And I think that's something that people who want to start in this field like could consider.
Yeah, so basically like the underrepresentation of AI in like specific fields where it could like really impact.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's hard because it takes a lot of observe, like be outside and just be involved in the world. Like it's like just by chatting, you will people will see like there's so many things that are still there unsolved, and so how people not necessarily just like adding the tool as you were asking me at the beginning. It's just like thinking actually in this ecology, in this ecosystem, how technology actually can make a transformational change.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.